Hey everybody, welcome back. It has been a minute, but we are going to dive into another Lorcana playtest video. This time, Amethyst Steel Jafar. Okay, before we get into playing, let's actually take a look at the deck. We're just going to run through the different cards that you find here with a brief explanation where needed. All right, number one, at the 1-drop slot, we have Captain Hook, Forceful Duelist, a great challenger card, and a good Stonewall for early aggression from aggro decks. The same can be held true for Robin Hood, Beloved Outlaw. Less good because it doesn't have Challenger, but it is a nice little wall to trade out some of the items from aggressive decks that you will be playing. At the 2-drop slot, we have Jafar, Royal Vizier. This card is nice because it has evasive, so it can challenge evasive creatures, and it also gives you a target for your Jafar Striking Illusionist here as a shift target. The same can be held true for Jafar Lamp Thief. You're going to see for this 3-drop slot, I have it split evenly 2, 2, and 2 between these next cards. This is just for me to determine what I like and what I want to play with. Each of these cards have their merits, but ultimately I think these numbers could shift. So we have Jafar Lamp Thief, which lets you manipulate the top of your deck, and is another shift target for Jafar Striking Illusionist. Maleficent Sorceress, just a solid card since this game dropped with the ability to draw a card. Benja, Guardian of the Dragon Gem, which is a key piece in destroying items that come into play, often when you are playing against Sapphire, and then sometimes an Emerald as well. There are also some Ruby items that it's good at removing. Then you have Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician, a great card for sort of cycling through your deck. It also gives you a shift target for Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. Jafar Keeper of Secrets, this is just a Stonewall. I think it's a really good option to have when you have a lot of cards in your hand. It lets you have a threat that's pervasive on board for removing a lot of creatures. This might just be a pet card of mine, but I like having it in here. It also gives you another shift target for Jafar Striking Illusionist. Then we have Beast Tragic Hero, which is just one of the best cards in the set. The ability to draw cards and or have a higher powered creature is an incredible value, almost an auto-include in decks with steel. Next, we have Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood. This is like the 7-cost Ruby Aladdin Light version. The ability to gain 2 lore when a character is banished and then draw a card when it has been removed from play is incredibly powerful. I love that there is a resource like this in steel. Now, Yzma, Scary Beyond All Reason. This is a fun card. It lets you either draw cards and put a damaged character back into your deck, or if the threat is very real on your opponent's side of the board and they have big scary characters, you can send it into their deck. Now, it's not a great solution because you give them 2 cards as a result. In fact, it's sort of like a desperation move, but sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures. Then you have Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, just a solid card since it has been released. The ability to do a bunch of chip damage across the board and then slowly whittle down opposing characters. Jafar Striking Illusionist, which this deck sort of revolves around. Getting this character out there, having it exerted, and then drawing cards through either the Queen's Castle or a whole new world is huge value. And then we have at the top of the curve as far as character goes, Elsa Spirit of Winter. This is a solid card. I like its inclusion. It's only a 2 of here because having a lot of uninkables really is difficult because you want to stay on curve with this deck. But I think it's very powerful and sort of helps stymie and maybe secure some rounds towards the end of the game for longer games. As far as songs go, you have 4 Friends on the Other Side, the classic card draw card. Very good to have and include. 3 of and then Along Came Zeus, dealing 5 damage outright to a location or a character is incredibly versatile and nice to have. 3 of A Whole New World, a great pairing with Jafar Striking Illusionist. You want to draw into this every game, so having 3 is very important. I could see an argument for having 4, but right now I've not had any issues having 3 in the deck. Same thing with 3 of Grab Your Swords as a song. This is a mini sweeper. It's not nearly as powerful as Be Prepared, but it is very powerful and acts as Steel's 1 sweeper card that removes a lot of characters from play as it is right now. And then lastly, we have the Queen's Castle, an incredible card. For 4, you gain 2 lore at the start of every turn, and for every character at this location, you can draw an additional card at the start of your turn. Very powerful and represents something that must be dealt with by most decks. But with that is covering this deck. Let's dive into some gameplay. Okay, let's get into it. It looks like we are playing Emerald and Amethyst. Very likely going to be playing a bounce style deck on their side, which means I need to prioritize having some early drops to stop a lot of that aggression. And this is a really good hand to do that. I think I'm going to keep this as is. I've got 1 drops to stop any aggression that they may have early, which is pretty unlikely. I think I want to play with Robin Hood out first to try to shift into this Robin Hood. Gives us plenty of ink. I like this hand. I'm going second, so I have to make sure that I hit my ink drops. I think this is a good hand to start with. Okay, let's see what their first move is. Okay, let's see what their first move is. Seems to be taking a while. I'm going to send them a little greetings to make sure that they're still here. Okay, we have movement. They are inking a Merlin, so we know that they like to use a lot of Merlin and Madam Mims in this deck. I'm playing a Cursed Merfolk. So this is a hybrid style of discard and bounces. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink Yzma because we're not really, I don't imagine we need to worry about getting there. I did draw into a Jafar, which is nice. And then we're going to play Robin Hood here and pass the turn. Now this probably telegraphs that we do have Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood in our hand. I'm fine telegraphing that if I'm being honest. I just want to make sure that I am giving myself the most opportunity to to stop a lot of what this early aggression could be. Now what's going to happen is they're going to quest, and I bet they have a Flynn Rider in hand. I'd be shocked if it wasn't a Flynn Rider. It might be a Madam Mim. It's a Madam Mim. They're going to bounce Cursed Merfolk back to... Oh, no, it's an Ursula. Okay, they're going to take my... Ursula targets songs, so they can't take anything out of my hand, but they are going to see my hand. And then I think they might be a touch worried. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to discard this Jafar, Keeper of Secrets, because that card isn't really doing much of anything against this style of deck. We're going to take out Robin Hood. Then we are going to ink, I believe... I imagine this Robin is going to get traded. I'm going to ink this Tinkerbell because I know that I have 3 more in my deck. And I'm going to play Captain Hook to have another wall or a little bit of a threat of me trading out their characters. On board, also it gives me a little bit of extra board presence, which I think that added security is massive against a deck like this that does operate off of having characters questing. There's also potential that they quest with Ursula here, and they might have a Madam Mim Fox in hand, and if they do, then my Robin Hood is going to be removed. That would be sad, certainly. They're going to ink Trinabog's Followers. Then this has to be a Madam Mim Fox. I would be stunned if it wasn't. It is an Ursula, Deceiver of All. That's a very powerful and good card. Okay, so what do we want to do here? I think I want to take Robin Hood, ink this Robin Hood. Then I want to shift this Robin Hood here on top of my original, on my baby, so my 5 cost onto my 3. Then we're going to take out this Ursula. I will gain 2 lore, and from there I pass the turn. Really what I'm trying to do is make sure I can have the Queen's Castle down next turn or turn 5. They're going to sing Mother Knows Best. They're going to make me return a character to my hand. So that's Captain Hook they're returning. They're returning both of my cards to hand. Fine. They're giving me more ink targets down the road. Cool with that. Putting out a Maleficent and drawing a card. That's a very powerful turn from them. And that's why Ursula Deceiver of All is very powerful. They are able to play... sing a song twice effectively. Okay, I think my play here is pretty simple. I think I want to put characters on the board. They know that I have a Queen's Castle. I'm going to draw a card with Maleficent first, and I'm going to pick up a whole new world. That's a very good card to pick up. I'm going to ink Robin Hood and play Captain Hook. Again, having Captain Hook on board is a threat to this deck because that means whatever they quest with, it can take out a lot of what they can quest. They're going to draw 4 cards now because Ursula is very powerful. They might be hoping for... they don't really have any cards that deal with the Queen's Castle. So once I have the Queen's Castle on board, we're pretty set as far as characters go. I'm curious as to what their next setup is. Oh, they're going to play a Queen's Castle of their own. That makes sense. And they're probably going to move Maleficent to that. That's a smart play. Mainly because what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Ooh, how very interesting. I'm going to... sing Friends on the Other Side with my Maleficent. I have an Along Came Zeus for their Queen's Castle. Okay. I think what I do here is I ink this Queen's Castle to play this Queen's Castle, take out Ursula, and then with my final remaining ink, which is sort of a bummer, is I'm going to move Maleficent to Queen's Castle. We've sort of got a mirrored circumstance there. They are going to be ahead of me with lore for a while, and they're going to be able to get 2 cards. I should be able to destroy their Queen's Castle sooner rather than later, but it is going to get value. They trade out Maleficents to make sure that I don't draw the extra card. Smart play. I suppose my question here is, what and how many characters they play? Will they play a Sorcerer's Spellbook? Oh, they're looking to guarantee. This is very smart. I could do with a Binja right now. A Binja would be very helpful. Ink a Kit Cloud Kicker and play a Rafiki. And then they're going to move Rafiki to Queen's Castle. Okay. Now, they currently have me in a pretty bad way. I'm going to ink... Okay, the highest value play here is to ink Tinkerbell, play Robin Hood, and then move Robin Hood to Queen Castle, so that way I'm threatening that we are going to get additional lore. They're going to draw 2 cards. Then next turn, what I might end up having to do, even though I don't necessarily want to, what I might end up having to do is having to use both, and then along came Zeus and Robin Hood to take out the Queen's Castle. They're going to gain a lore. Mother knows best. They're going to return Robin Hood to my hand. Oh, it's very smart. They have a bunch of the cards that are very, 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 very good in this instance. Inca Maleficent, and what do we got? I'm not going to lie to you folks, this is not looking good for the home team here with a Flynn Rider that they're going to then attach to the Queen's Castle. The tempo that they are getting here is incredible. Okay, well, I don't love it. What I can do is I can easily get rid of these 2, which is going to reduce their card draw. And I think that's frankly the highest value that we can have right now. Yeah, I think that's ultimately what needs to be done. We need to grab your sword. And we just play that outright. And I think one of the biggest bummers that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to ink Robin Hood and then pass the turn. We are behind them in lore, which is not ideal. I need to find a way to turn that around, or we are going to suffer some pretty hefty consequences. They're going to be able to draw a card, move Merlin to the Queen's Castle. They have had a very, very good hand, and they've been playing their game exquisitely, so I can't even be upset by this in the slightest. Playing Madam Mim to bounce Merlin back to their hand to draw another card. Smart. And then they're going to use that to take out the Queen's Castle all the way through. They're trying to remove that threat. I think that's a brilliant play. Okay, they're going to gain 3 lore. I'm going to gain 0. What is my ultimate play here? I think what we end up having to do is playing Jafar, striking Illusionist. It has evasive. And then I think it's a sad fact, but I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take Friends on the other side, ink that, and pass the turn. Now, there is potential that this game is just over here, which is kind of a bummer, if I'm being honest. I can quest for 1. That'll put it at 7, and then plus 7 more is 14. They're going to be able to quest for 1 more, 2 more, so they'll put it at 16. I think the game is going to be out of reach very shortly, which is a sad thing to say. If I draw a card that can be inked, then potentially we can... Then there's potential for us to be able to turn this around, although it is... Although it's not a high likelihood that we turn it around here, but there is some potential. They might use their mana to move their characters to the Queen's Castle to make it more of a threat. They're going to play another Queen's Castle. Oh, they're just trying to secure it out. Well, now I don't think there is a way that we win this. We drew an Inkable. That's fine. I think ultimately we can remove this from play. We can take this out. Let's deal 5 damage that way. Cast a whole new world, or sing a whole new world. Jafar triggers and I gain 7. Ultimately with that, they win this game. I'll pass and let them take this out. They should just be able to quest twice and win. Getting to, yeah, they're there. They know the right way of things. Quest, and then they win out. Good for them. That's a good win for them. They played that game incredibly well. We'll run it back one more time. All right, so we have a game now against Amethyst and Ruby. This is probably another one of the tougher matchups. I think in this instance, this is way too slow of a hand. We want to get rid of a lot of these high costs here. I'm fine with these 3. I need some additional items to keep us on curve. In fact, I don't even know if I want Benja here because I don't think this deck is playing some items that might be of interest. But let's get rid of these because they're all high cost. I want to keep Tinkerbell for some guaranteed early ink. Okay, this looks better than it did before. So I'm happy with this instance. Just ink this Tinkerbell after I go first and pass the turn. We want to bring in Jafar, have that out on board, get to 5 so we can have our Jafar in play. It would have been better if we had a 1-drop like Robin Hood. I would have loved that, but we didn't end up getting it. Okay, so they do have an item. They have Benjas. So Benja will be of use to us down the road here. At the 2-drop slot, I think I'm just going to go all in on Jafar here, and we're going to throw this Jafar in play and pass it. Then on turn 3, I can, depending on what they play, on turn 3 I might ink my Benja. They didn't play anything. Okay, I'm going to ink my Benja, which might be a misplay down the road, by the way. We're just testing this out. And play Jafar striking Illusionist. Top of deck. Okay, we've got 2 of these items on the top of the deck. Beast is going to have to be dealt with and gets me cards immediately. I like the idea of having another Beast in hand and putting my Jafar on the bottom of the deck. I'm going to quest here. They might have a rush character like Queen of Hearts at the 2-drop slot, but that would mean that they're spending 2 ink instead of 3, and I'm pretty okay with that. Right now, they haven't been doing much of anything. I've seen a Maui's Hook, and I've seen Oh goodness, I forgot. Teeth and Ambitions. So that's another Teeth and Ambitions that's been used. Now we're gonna use Friends on the other side to draw 2. It feels like we're just doing a little bit of a delay game to draw into a Be Prepared. Okay, so with that, we have used Jafar to sing Friends from the other side. I'm gonna ink this beast, and I'm going to play the Queen's Castle and ramp up the pressure. Now, they very likely have something that can remove this, but it might not be until well, no, because at 5, that's Maui, and Maui's a 6/5. Yzma being inked, so we've seen 2 Teeth and Ambitions, Yzma, and a Maui's Hook. Okay, well, what do we have here? I think what we do is, I think our play is to ink Tinkerbell, shift for 5, Jafar onto Jafar, then use Jafar, You know what? This is a misplay. Well, I could have done this differently, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to use Jafar to sing Friends on the other side. I'll go ahead and gain 2 lore for that, and then I'm going to... I actually don't think I quest with this Jafar right now. I think I passed it. Now, they could have Dragonfire here, which would not be great for me. In fact, that's probably what they're going to do if I had a guess. Okay, they're going to go ahead and attack into the... he's going to use Maui to take that out. Smart. He's got to use all of his utility to take out those cards. I'm super cool with that, by the way. That's fine by me. Now, what I don't want to do is I don't want to... Okay, so we've got 2 turns away. So until I'm okay getting rid of this Merlin this way and having them draw a card. That way they're drawing it under my terms and not their terms. The bigger pain to them is me playing a beast, not a Tinkerbell. So I'm going to ink Tinkerbell, play a beast. Oh, never mind. I guess I'm going to play a Tinkerbell. And then I'm going to use Jafar to sing Friends from the other side, gain 2 more lore, and pass the turn. And what we're doing is just drawing into this sort of chaff. I don't want to... What I want to do next turn is have a whole new world be sung, because there's a high likelihood that they end up pitching a Be Prepared. They're going to tap Tinkerbell. Okay, they exert Tinkerbell, and then they're going to send Maui in to get rid of Tinkerbell. Now that I know that this is something that has occurred, I'm very thankful that Beast Tragic Hero wasn't out, because then Maui would still be alive on his side of the board. I'm gonna ink a Merlin Goat, take us up to 6. They likely have the ability to bounce the Pinocchio. The positive side of this is, oh my gosh, they're about to get rid of so many cards. 41 cards and 42. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards in hand. They've seen, so that's 6 cards plus 8 is 14, right? 41 cards in hand, so 14, 41 is 55. So they've seen quite a few cards. My play here, I think, is pretty easy. I'm going to ink Captain Hook, play Beast, play Robin Hood, and then use Jafar to sing A Whole New World. Gain 7. I have 4 on board. I'm going to play a Captain Hook to have 5 on board to force them to have in their hand right now a Be Prepared. And since they're questing right off rip here, it's a very high likelihood they have Be Prepared in hand along with an inkable card. Ink the card, play a Be Prepared. Yep, this is anticipated, makes a ton of sense. Now, what we do is we ink a Robin Hood, we play a Queen's Palace. What I would like to do is I'm gonna play a Jafar Royal Vizier and attach it to the Queen's Castle and a Robin Hood and pass. If they have another Be Prepared, that just kind of, I mean, good for them. They've drawn into it. Their priority right now should be removing the Queen's Castle. Lady Tremaine asking me to sacrifice a character. I will sacrifice the one that is not within the Queen's Castle because ultimately that's unhelpful. They should be able to, so they're going to play a Rafiki. Okay, that's great. They're stacking up to try to take out Queen's Castle next turn. I'm going to draw another card. Okay, well, this is unfortunate for them. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to ink this Jafar. We're going to shift this Jafar on top of mine. And then because of that, I can now, I guess I can do it this way. I'll quest for 1 and then sing Friends from the other side, draw 2. And that'll put us right at 20 and we win the game, which is just unfortunate. That's not very interactive for them. But that is the potential of drawing into a Jafar at that 7 ink slot. It's just very powerful. That was a really, really good second game that showcases the talent of this deck. Okay, well, that was a very interesting way to showcase the Jafar control combo deck. I certainly think that the deck list that I have needs a couple of tweaks, but for the most part, the power is there. Those core cards are very, very impactful. I did like the ability to shift in that second game, the ability to shift my Jafar onto the lower cost. That proved to be very helpful in sort of bringing me ahead in the game. And it just gives you the ability to outright win if you're able to draw cards while Jafar is exerted. So it's very powerful. Again, I certainly believe it needs a few tweaks, but I'm curious as to your thoughts. Let me know what you thought of the Jafar control combo style deck, and let me know what you're playing. I would love to hear from you and find out exactly what it is you're playing in Lorcana right now, or what other burning questions you have about this card game, or if you have any suggestions for decks you'd like to see me play. But in the meantime, friends, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you for spending some time with me as we play tested this deck, and I will see you all soon. But make sure that you like this video, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.